What is going on, guys? It's Zigzag here. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm joined by Daiiono. How's it going, man?
Yo, what's up, Oscar? How you doing?
I am well, and today we're doing a GeoGuessr country bracket. Essentially, we're going to be just discussing how much we enjoy guessing each of these countries, and so it's good to have like some kind of measuring stick to do it with. So what we are going to be measuring by is how fun each country is to guess within the country, and how much it is fun to guess within the context of like country streaks. So that's essentially what we've got. We've got most of the biggest countries in GeoGuessr here, and I'll start off with Thailand versus Canada. What's your initial thought here, Daiiono?
Sure. I mean, difficulty-wise, I would say, for me at least, Canada is pretty up there in terms of me not being able to get the region within the country.
Right.
So I would say this one is, I would say more fun, but also more frustrating for me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would say that as well. Thailand is also a difficult region guessing country, so we actually got two of them
Definitely.
against each other. I think though Thailand almost always has those poles which are so distinctive, which differentiate it from the neighboring countries as well as driving side. Whereas Canada US toss-ups and Canada Scandinavia toss-ups are really much more possible because of the similar poles. So, but in, like not only difficulty in terms of enjoyability, I also find that Canada has like more diverse landscapes generally speaking.
I think, guessability-wise, Thailand is a bit easier for me, right? Just because you have your distinct areas. You have kind of more so the flat part in the northeast and the east of Thailand there, closer to the Laos border. And then Chiang Mai looks somewhat distinct, although it's pretty hard to differentiate between that middle part of the country, middle and west Thailand, and then on the peninsula looks a little bit more distinct as well.
Right.
Whereas I think Canada has so many different biomes and landscapes that it's just difficult. Like sometimes I've gone Newfoundland on like British Columbia and stuff like that. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
So
definitely in Canada here.
yeah. In terms of a fun country to guess, I think it has to go to Canada. Although Thailand is still good and still can
Yeah.
provide some really beautiful and interesting rounds. But okay, we'll leave Canada there and we'll move on to Spain versus Japan. A really interesting one. What are your initial thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting, I think, because Japan for me is one of those countries that it's that country. So country streak wise, it's very easy to get distinguished from other countries, but I think region guessing within that country is so difficult.
Right.
So whereas Spain, it can get confused for other countries. So country streak wise, it's a bit tougher, especially with a lot of Mediterranean looking other countries. It'll kind of look the same in some places. And then region guessing is tough as well. So I would have to give the edge to Spain here, at least for me.
I'm actually totally in agreement. I think, like, Japan, when you get a satisfying region guess, it really is so fun. But generally
Yeah.
speaking, there are so many forest rounds where you know it's Japan, as you said, but it's just not easy to get where. Whereas, like, Spain, I do feel like the more you play, you start to get a bit of a vibe for the different areas, and, like, you have, like, subtle differences in the climate and the landscape, which make it a bit more interesting. Not to mention we got the Canaries in there, which is also, like, a fun, region that provides a lot of nice bait rounds. So I have to give it to Spain as well on this occasion, but it'll be interesting to see how those two, Canada and Spain, match up next time. Okay,
Yeah.
Croatia versus Turkey. Give us your initial thoughts here, Dallin.
Oh boy. Gelotris would have my head if I don't go Turkey here. It's a fun country, so diverse as well, like many of these countries that are moving on so far, like Spain and Canada. And, just fun region guessing wise, fun country streaking wise as well. There's definitely some tough locations that I've gotten wrong that were in Turkey.
None specifically.
Not specifically, but there are some that I can think of right now. What about you?
So as for me, I think Croatia is a fun country, and there are several countries that you can confuse for Croatia. I also like the fact that it has a lot of islands and stuff like that, so you get interesting coastline kind of stuff where you're like wondering, are you on mainland, island, maybe in Greece or something like that. However, like as you said, like Turkey just gets the big country advantage here, where like you get that diverse landscape. The north is so distinct from the south, and then there's like nice like architectural differences. I like a mix of landscape and kind of infrastructure clues, and I think Turkey's got a mix of that, whereas like Croatia's probably more landscape, so I'll edge Turkey as well.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it's not taking anything away from Croatia as well because just got the new Gen 4 as well, so it looks
Mm.
pretty fun,
Hmm.
and we haven't explored it all yet. So,
True, true.
um,
Yeah,
yeah.
Croatia actually
But
just
as
went
of
up in
right
my
now,
books as well, but yeah, yeah, definitely.
yeah, yeah. But as of right now, I'd say Turkey is on top currently in terms of funness.
Okay, now we have the first one where I think might have an interesting opinion. We've got Iceland versus Nigeria. I want to hear your opinion first before I come through with mine, though.
Yeah, this is tough, right? Because Iceland, fun country, you got beautiful landscapes. But, it is pretty easy to once again distinguish that you are in Iceland over other countries. Very volcanic looking, little bit desolate as well. So like I probably give the edge to Nigeria, especially with the new coverage that they released like in the northern desert part as well. I think that's really cool. Nigeria's surprisingly diverse, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
In a way.
Hmm.
So I'd probably give the edge to Nigeria here.
Yeah, so I can definitely see someone making a really strong case for Iceland here because you got like a really interesting landscape compared to the rest of the world, so it's really fun to have in GeoGuessr. And then also like it's like a 5K's dream because you got lots of road angle, lots of topography to work with, and like
Right.
it does make for like getting some nice high scores, especially if you're that way inclined. But I'm the same as you. I'm giving the Nigeria the edge here just because diverse landscape, really interesting. I'm just like an Africa fan in general. I really like seeing like what life is like over there, and like it's a really like a bustling country. There's a lot happening. So I like guessing in Nigeria personally. So I'll go for that. But
Absolutely.
it is brought down by car meta. I think like without the police
Oh,
cars and everything like that, it would be more fun of a country even, and that kind
definitely,
of thing.
yeah.
Okay, Russia versus Senegal. Interesting one here. What are your initial thoughts?
Wow. Okay, I mean, you mentioned the big country advantage earlier. I mean, I mean, Russia is the biggest country of them all. So, I mean, I definitely give the advantage in that aspect there. Senegal is a little bit underrated in terms of its landscapes, especially with the new coverage that got released below the Gambia. But, I can't help but give the edge to Russia here. We got snowy mountains, we got beautiful Altai hills, we got down by the Black Sea as well. The
Mm-hmm.
landscapes are so different. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it's more fun for me
Yep.
at least to just get something wrong in Russia, be 3,000 kilometers away in Russia, and it's still fun for me. So I'd pick Russia here.
Yeah, so for me, this is easy. Russia. I don't need to discuss it too much in the context of
Yeah,
Senegal, I think. But I will say that like there are a lot of frustrating Russia ones where it's just like a forest. So
exactly.
like
Yeah,
that like obviously like some forests are distinct and you can like make really nice guesses based on it. A lot of times it does feel a bit like what is this, man? But okay, it's
right.
easily moving forward against Senegal in my opinion. Okay, Colombia, Indonesia. What are you thinking here? For those who don't know, Dallin is a bit of a Latin America enjoyer, so this is maybe a tough choice.
I am, but I mean, I feel like the trend that we're going with so far is diverse landscapes. Not just the same everywhere. Like I think Indonesia on all of its different islands are just so different. So, I mean, as much as I love Colombia, I have to give the edge to Indonesia here.
Hmm. Hmm. So Colombia is actually a country I don't particularly enjoy guessing within. Like you can learn
True.
valleys and stuff like that, and there are some that are wider and more distinctive, and you might have certain crops in certain areas or something like that. Overall, though, I mean, it's a fun country for bait rounds. I'll give it that, but
Yeah.
on like no moving penny or zooming. But Indonesia's just so fun. Like it's got like the perfect mix of landscape and a bit of meta and a lot of like architectural and kind of cultural hints. So like Indonesia's a great country for guessing. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Got to go forward here.
Agree with you there.
Okay, so then now we move forward to Australia versus
Oh boy.
Mongolia, two very different countries, but also with a lot of like outback area. So this is kind of an interesting matchup. What are you thinking here?
Well, surely you wouldn't let me back on another YouTube video if I don't pick Australia here. So, not too much to say here. I'd say Mongolia's ruined a little bit by car meta. I'd say, a lot of the cities do look the same within the country, but Australia, once again, diverse. The outback is extremely tough. I guess sometimes if you're just put on some kind of dirt road, you don't know if it's like inland New South Wales or if it's just like Western Australia or something like that. So
Hmm. Hmm.
I definitely give the edge to Australia here by
Hmm.
far.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. I think Mongolia is like such a special addition to the game because like I just really think they went above and beyond in terms of covering it, where like
Yep.
in other countries they wouldn't have done such remote areas, but they really like put a lot of
Yeah.
effort, lots of nice trekkers and stuff like that as well. Obviously it goes to Australia here for me because it's like a complete country and it has like a lot of like it has such diversity as well, and it's my own country, so I'm biased. But yeah, like Mongolia has to have props. Like it's a very nice country
Yeah.
to guess within. It does have some boring bits as well, but you know, yeah, that's how it has to fall on this occasion.
Agreed.
Okay, Norway versus Argentina. Let's have your thoughts on it before I give mine.
Oh man, this might be the hardest matchup of the day for me, I think,
Mm-hmm,
or
mm-hmm,
of
mm-hmm.
this bracket so far.
Right.
Argentina is a bit underrated, but I'd say a lot of the southern part of Argentina, region guessing that, unless you know specific roads where you just get shrubs on both sides and it's just really gray soil, it's not as fun for me. Um, and Norway is always fun because you get to see fjords, you get to
Yeah.
see, beautiful natural landscape. I will probably go Norway here with my pick.
Yeah. So in terms of natural beauty and that kind of thing, it's easily Norway for me. However, when I think of a country that I enjoy guessing within, I do kind of have the feeling that Argentina may be more fun because Norway, it's like okay, like some have a clear southern vibe, some have a clear northern vibe, and then there's kind of the in between rounds, and that's probably pretty much what you get, and this is the kind of the smaller country disadvantage. Whereas like Argentina, like you do get very interesting pockets, like up in the Andes. The green parts of the Andes are so fun. The Panhandle. I do agree that like Patagonia has to bring it down significantly, but. I think I may slightly lean Argentina. So how should we decide this when we come to an impasse? Because my preference is slight. Was your preference heavier or more slight as well?
No, I mean, I think you brought up some good points there, right? Because I think I have more fun, honestly, guessing in Argentina, and I think the premise of this is fun.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So I lean your way now. Now that
mm-hmm,
after
mm-hmm.
hearing your argument,
Okay,
so
okay.
I'm fine with letting Argentina move on here.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Norway, the more beautiful country, without a doubt.
Yep.
But for GeoGuessr, yeah, I feel like this might be the right choice. So there we go. We're on the other side of the bracket. Let's go. We are making good progress. Okay, Brazil versus Kenya, the two red-soiled countries. Which one are you picking here?
Okay. Okay. I think much like Nigeria, right? Kenya is a bit ruined by car meta, all these things.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot more coverage released recently. That's very cool, definitely. But ooh, I don't have as much fun guessing in Kenya as I do in Brazil. It's a
Mm-hmm.
larger country. Uh, Northeast gets sandy and stuff. We got South gets very green. We got the Amazon rainforest as well, of course. So
Right.
I got to take Brazil here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep. For me, this is fairly easy. Brazil. I mean, without car meta, it may be more of a competition, but even still, Kenya doesn't have coverage along the whole country. It's kind of
Exactly.
like 60% covered or something instead. So
Yeah.
yeah, it has to be Brazil here. And Kenya's definitely a country I like, but definitely like especially without no moving, panning, or zooming, car meta is such a heavy influence that it
Yep.
does like somewhat hinder the gameplay in my opinion. So
Yep.
yeah, it has to be Brazil here. Okay, moving on to Philippines, New Zealand. What are you thinking?
Oh. Oh boy. I think I have more fun personally guessing in New Zealand.
Hmm.
Maybe that's just because I don't know as much Philippines meta as I should. We got the tuk tuks or like different roads or whatever in the Philippines, but I definitely have more fun guessing in New Zealand, and I think it's more satisfying to me when I get a good New Zealand guess over
Hmm.
a nice Philippines guess.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna take New Zealand here.
Hmm. Yeah, so I would say I'm also going to pick New Zealand. Philippines is like a bit less fun because it does look so similar all over. Now Luzon is kind of a different case. I think Luzon Island is actually really fun to guess within because the landscape and the climate kind of differ more. You have flat sections, you have super mountains. and you have dry bits, you have green bits. So I think if it was only Luzon, it would almost be more of a fun country. Other than that, you kind of have to rely on really obscure metas and place name knowledge, I think, a lot of the time, which I don't really like as much. So it has to be New Zealand, which has those epic mountains and also like goes from tropical to completely cold. So yeah, I'm going New Zealand here as well.
Nice.
Okay, South Africa, Italy. Oh, this is an interesting one, actually.
Okay. Okay. Oh boy, this is a very hard one as well
Yeah,
for
this
me,
is hard.
I
This
think.
is hard. Yeah.
Do you have your thoughts collected? I'm gonna let you go first if you do.
All right, let's do that. So South Africa, I may be a bit biased towards because I've been practicing it recently.
Right.
Now, we have to say about South Africa that even though it is more diverse than Italy, it does have pretty much half the country being nothing. Most of the interesting stuff happening in South Africa is happening along the coast. So, like, Western and Eastern Cape are really interesting provinces, which I really like region guessing in. And then as you get more north, it kind of just, like, turns a bit, like, subtropical, and it's definitely gettable that way. You do have so many nice mountains, but you can say the same for Italy. I would say, like, around, like, the Lesotho area is really interesting, but obviously we can't include those, like, those smaller nations within South Africa. So,
Right.
I don't know. There is like so much desert that's what really makes it tight here. I think then turning to Italy, you have like the really green and area in the north. One thing I like about Italy a lot is that there's a lot of architecture guessing,
Yeah.
where like north and south are so distinctive, like very different cultures in a way. And then southern, like the Mediterranean climate, it does create like 50-50s with other countries and stuff like that. With like a lot of Gen 2 kind of Sicily looking a lot like Greece and Spain, for example. It's an interesting matchup here. I think just because of my just because I've been practicing South Africa, I have to edge it out. But dude,
Damn.
I could. This is really 50-50. I'll be happy to go your way if you see it the other way. So what do you think?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, after thinking about it a bit more, I think Italy is clear by a lot.
Okay.
Honestly, we've got, alpine architecture, like you said, so different from middle of the country, Sicily. We got Sardinia, and there's even a couple volcanic islands like Lipari.
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't mention that.
I mean,
That's true.
it's just so diverse, so cool to guess in, and it feels so good when you get that Italy region right.
No, that's
And
actually
like,
true. Yeah.
you know, there is parts of the country in South Africa that it feels good to get right, like when you plonk a nice Durban guess down or something like that. But like if it's just in the middle, like in the desert Bloemfontein area, like around that area, it just doesn't feel as good because you're just clicking in the middle sometimes when it's desert. So I like Italy more personally, and that's gonna be my pick.
Okay, I will side with you. Look, I still think like slightly prefer South Africa, but what you say about getting a nice Italy guess definitely rings true. When it's so satisfying when you pull a nice Italy one, and it always feels like you knew something. It always has like a sense of accomplishment, which doesn't always like accompany a South Africa guess. So yeah, have to agree. And let's go to UK and Slovakia. What are you thinking here?
Oh man. Okay. Um, you know, I give the edge to the UK here, I think, because Slovakia to me kind of just mountainous in the middle. We got a couple flat parts near Bratislava and Nitra, and then in the eastern part. But the UK, I mean, we're including basically 4 different nations here, and it's really cool how Wales is different from Northern Ireland, and how Northern Ireland is different from Scotland, and how Scotland is different from England. So I mean, I gotta take the UK here. I think it's just more diverse, more fun.
So I gotta say, if it was England versus Slovakia, I would go Slovakia here. But
Yeah.
because of the diversity, especially between architecture and like also like very interesting landscapes in like Scotland and Wales and stuff, I have to go UK. But yeah, I mean, like Slovakia is actually one of my favorite European countries to guess. That's why I brought it here. Has to go to UK though.
Okay.
So there we go. Okay, so moving on here, let us go to USA versus Malaysia. Obviously, Dallin, being American, take us through what your thoughts are on this matchup.
Well, you know what? I have to be patriotic here. Have to do my civic duty. I'm gonna take the United States here. Bit more diverse than Malaysia. Malaysia, Borneo and the mainland, very cool. A lot of it to me does look the same though, unless particularly like some sort of sticker meta on the mainland. Perhaps it's pretty hard to guess a region in the mainland.
Yeah.
For me, at least in
Yeah.
Malaysia, so it's
Yeah.
not as fun for me to guess that. Whereas if you get a nice USA guess down in rural Ohio, you feel great. So I got to take the US.
Yeah, this is easy USA for me. I mean, I like guessing in Malaysia, but the mainland is just too frustrating.
Yep.
And it's like basically like I don't really think like anyone's really mastered region guessing it. And so yeah, I think we have to say that USA just diverse in the landscapes. We have Hawaii as well, so that's also a plus. We have Alaska, which are two awesome states. And yeah, I don't think USA is the perfect country, but it easily clears Malaysia here. So I'm going for that. We'll discuss more USA stuff later on, I'm sure. But okay, now we're on to Kyrgyzstan and Israel. Interesting matchup here.
Yeah, these are great. Two not very well covered countries, I'd say. I mean, to me, it feels like I gotta go Kyrgyzstan here just because of the epic mountains. But there's a lot of there's a lot of car meta and like the mirror meta and you're kind of either by the lake or you're near Bishkek or you're near Osh. So I don't know. It's this one's really tough for me. Oscar, why don't you explain your thought process here?
Okay, so for me, this one's quite easily Israel. I've never really enjoyed going guessing in Kyrgyzstan that much. It's hindered by the car meta. Israel creates all kinds of interesting 50-50s on rural maps, for example. True. It has like a lot of interesting pockets of coverage where it gets a little greener, it gets a little drier. And then also you got like interesting south stuff, which can be confused with the like UAE or Jordan on NMPZ as well.
Yeah.
Not to mention, like, it's just quite a different culture, whereas, like, Kyrgyzstan can look quite like, just like Russia with mountains, for example. And also you got plate meta, which just makes it, well, both countries are made pretty easy with plate meta, but yeah, I mean, for me, it's just like, I just prefer guessing in Israel by quite a bit. It is a very small country, so that brings it down a bit, but when you consider that, Kyrgyzstan also has such limited coverage, then I go Israel here. So, yeah. Are you happy with that?
I would agree with you. Yeah, I would agree with you. I think even the Gen 2 Israel as well sometimes gets a little baby, and it's a little bit fun.
Yeah,
if you get that right, it just feels great.
That is definitely true. I don't know if getting right could be me, but yeah. Anyway, Mexico, Lesotho here. Obviously, one country much bigger than the other, so that may give it an advantage. What are you thinking?
I mean, this one's really fast for me. I think it's just Mexico. I don't really need to explain. I feel like, and I'll let you take it away.
Yep, so Mexico, much bigger, diverse landscape. Got the desert in Baja California. You got the green around Mexico City. You got the kind of interesting, like, flat rainforest, kind of, like, weird stuff going on in Yucatan. So, yeah, it has to be Mexico. I really like Lesotho, honestly. I do. I think if it was a bigger country, then it would be one of my favorites. Just because, I don't know, like, you get the green and you get the dry. I really like the contrast, and I don't know. I just said I like Africa. I like looking at the towns and everything. It's just interesting to me. So, but yeah, Mexico's easily winning here. So moving on to France and Chile. What are we thinking?
This one's tough, but probably have to go Chile. Very diverse. We got the Atacama. We got that middling green stage, and then we also got the national parks like O'Higgins down there, and just the Andes lining the entire border. It's just such a cool country. And I mean, like, France is great too. The Alps, the Pyrenees, are all there, but the middle part of the country to me is just so bland. So I gotta take Chile here.
Right. So I'm agree, but I'm also gonna lay out my case for France because Chile basically is like half desert, which is not particularly interesting. And so that really does bring it down, in my opinion. You do have the mountains to kind of like get bearings sometimes, but I would say like a good 40% of the country is discounted in terms of any fun to be had. So that's definitely a minus. However, you're right. Interior France is also kind of boring. You just get cornfields and kind of rolling landscape. I will say for France, you do get interesting architectural differences, which I could not claim that I know like the difference between that well. And so like I think like France could be kind of like a sleeper like hit like later on, where like actually a lot of people really enjoy region guessing, learning those slight architectural differences and that kind of thing. Like Chile, has epic mountains. It has some of the most beautiful landscapes in the world. And the southern part is pretty fun. Lacking a bit of coverage, but I think it narrowly beats France for me at this stage. Only.
Yeah. I think it's just a tough matchup for France in the first round.
Yeah. Honestly. It could have beaten some of these other countries, in my opinion, but
definitely.
Yeah, but also Réunion has to count there, so that is another thing to consider. But
that is true. That is true.
But I think I'd still take Chile regardless. Okay, so now we're moving back up the bracket here. We're looking at Spain versus Canada. Okay, my initial thoughts here are that Canada has that huge big country advantage here, where like Spain could like really like go up against Japan nicely earlier on. It kind of doesn't have that same advantage because like Canada also has that kind of satisfying good guess kind of element to it. Now Canada, it must be said, the prairies are kind of boring. And that definitely brings it down, whereas Spain, I feel like, is pretty much interesting all over. But when you consider all the northern territories and like kind of the beauty of Newfoundland, I think I would go carry Canada here, but only by a relatively slim margin. So I want to hear what you have to say as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of fine with letting Canada advance here. I see all your points. I slightly lean Spain, but that's just because for me, it's a bit more satisfying for me to region guess in Spain. I understand there are these distinct places, but you know, it just feels better for me when I get a nice 4,900 down in Spain as opposed to Canada. I don't know. Maybe that's just a me thing, but
dude, I'm honestly kind of like wanting to go back on what I said. I honestly may let Spain advance here, like
upset.
Yeah, this could be a big upset, to be honest. I'm just thinking, like, in terms of when you go to learn Canada, right? You have to learn a lot of coverage, like in terms of particular roads, and you have to like learn a lot of like infrastructure stuff, which I just don't find quite as interesting. Spain is more of a vibes country, so I may go for Spain. Actually, I think I will.
Yeah, we love the vibes. Let's go.
Yeah. That's a win for vibes right there. But okay, now Nigeria versus Turkey. Interesting one.
Well, I had to say it, Nigeria. You got an easy round in the first round, but this round, not so much. I got to go Turkey once again. You know, the middle part, like Canada, like in the plains, does get a little bit, boring, rolling, dry hills. But, you know, Turkey, it's just really diverse, and it has the big country advantage here. So, gotta give it to Turkey, I'd say.
Yep. And so, like, on an objective fun level, I actually feel like they're fairly similar for me. But if we're talking like country streaking or bait for other countries, like Turkey has so much more potential.
Yeah.
And also like the car meta stuff is just less. So yeah, I'm gonna let Turkey advance, and we can talk more about that in Spain versus Turkey. Bit of a Mediterranean matchup there in a way. But
yeah, that's a good one.
Let's move forward to what is probably like the biggest matchup potentially of this whole like round of 16, which is Indonesia versus Russia. Huge countries, right? So what are you thinking?
Oh man, this is kind of tough. I mean, part of me just really wants to give the edge to Russia, I think, just because, you know, it's just so fun when you get a nice region guess down, man.
True.
You know, when you know that it's like, you know, Caucasus, or you know it's Magadan, or you know it's like Surgut, then it just feels so good to plonk that down, get a 4,900 in like the biggest country in the world. But man, it's hard to vote against Indonesia. I will slightly lean Russia though, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Okay, that's really interesting. So I have some real thoughts here. So, I think firstly I want to say if Russia was stuck in Gen 3, I would pick Indonesia. I think the fact that it got all those new roads, new regions, definitely elevates it quite a lot. Now, Indonesia has a lot of regions that are kind of solved by a pole top or something like that, or particular architecture like the Javanese roofs, which are made of tiles. That definitely like brings it down in a way, just because you can look at such a simple thing and go for it, whereas Russia is so much more vibes based. Whereas Russia suffers because there are these particular regions where you have to like learn a particular, tilted antenna or a particular type of coverage or a particular just like smudge or like particular
Right.
road like what'd you say peculiarity or something like that. So
Yeah.
overall, just because of Russia's vastness, I will slightly edge Russia here. I think
Damn. Okay.
this is incredibly close, and like Indonesia is almost more fun. It's just that Russia is so if it was missing from the game, it would just be too disastrous. It's like the country to be good at. So I have to
Right.
go for Russia. Okay, Australia versus Argentina. Interesting one. What are you thinking initially here?
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually curious to hear your thoughts on this first, and then
Sure,
maybe I
sure,
can.
sure.
Yeah. Go for it.
So Argentina, it must be said, it's like a much less solved country than Australia, because Australia, in the regional, in different states, is very. There's a lot of conventions that different states follow. So polls and stuff
Right.
like that are completely different state to state, and then also and they come up a lot, and then also just number plates and all this kind of thing. Much more regionally guessable, I would say. However,
Okay.
I would also say it's more of an interesting country landscape-wise than Argentina. Even though the outback is relatively boring in the same way that Patagonia can be, it still has a bit more going for it. It's a bit more green, and there are just a little bit. There's more regional differences, whereas Patagonia is dreary and a bit boring. So that's half the country.
Right.
So I do think Argentina has at this stage of the game, getting a close guess in Argentina is more satisfying for me than getting a close guess in Australia. But I think that is because just Australia is a more well-rounded country in terms of guessing. So I edge Australia, but I could be convinced if you have counter thoughts here.
Hmm. No, I think I feel the same way, especially because I just feel like middle Argentina to me, and I think that was the argument that I had for Norway last round was just middle Argentina for me is just so hard to region guess. You can't really learn roads there. It's so
Mm.
hard.
Mm.
Nobody really knows the roads, whereas I don't know. I would definitely give the edge to Australia here, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm taking Australia as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And now we move forward to the other side of the round of 16, Brazil versus New Zealand. Interesting one. Very different countries. So, what
Oh
are you thinking?
man. You know, this is kind of hard for me, honestly, but
Mm-hmm.
Brazil big country bonus. I I probably got to give it to Brazil. I think Brazil, like Russia, is one of the countries to be good at just
Mm-hmm.
because you can lose so many points in that country.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's fun. Honestly, it's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
It is a little bit resident sleeper when you do get it a lot in
Yeah.
seeds, but, you know, being good at that country is just every GeoGuessr player's dream at
Right.
this point,
Right.
besides
Right.
Russia. So,
Right.
and man, I got to give the edge to Brazil here, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts, honestly.
Yeah. So, in terms of a beautiful country, it's easily New Zealand. In terms of a
Yep.
fun for GeoGuessr, it has to be Brazil for me. I think unlike Russia, the boring parts of Brazil, they're the subtle differences are more fun to learn in my opinion. So
Yeah.
Russia has the more beautiful and epic bits. I know I'm jumping the gun a little bit here, but in terms of the boring bits of Brazil, they are kind of just subtly different in a way that you kind of learn the slight dirt color difference and a slight architectural thing and a slight pole top difference, and all the metas are fake, which just makes it hilarious. But
Right.
I really enjoyed guessing in Brazil, and you do have some beautiful parts as well, so that's also a
Yep.
bonus. New Zealand, yeah, more beautiful country, sure, but just less coverage, less big, and less important. So yeah, it's Brazil for me. Okay,
Awesome.
now we are looking at Italy, UK, bit of a Europe matchup here, the last true Europe matchup. Oh no, apart from Turkey and Spain, I guess in a way, but let's see what we got.
Yeah. I mean, for me, this one's easy. Do you want to voice your opinions first, and then I'll
Okay,
take mine, or
if
yeah?
it's easy for you, then I would go Italy. I would say, in terms of fun, UK just the problem is with UK is you end up in these housing estates, and that half the time just red brick, you know, depressing
Yep.
Birmingham stuff or something. I don't know. It's
Yep.
just not that fun to guess. Like the England roulette is real. You know, and then like Northern Ireland, I don't find that interesting either. Sorry, J Web, but no. It's a nice place, part of the world, but just not as interesting to guess as Italy, which is so diverse, architecturally, like similar, like in terms of diversity to the UK, but like landscape wise, more interesting, I would say.
No, I mean, you nailed it spot on. I'm on Italy 100% of the way. It's
Gotcha.
just so diverse. The islands as well. Sicily, Sardinia, you know, the volcanic islands. I mean, it just has so much going for it, man.
Right.
And I don't think UK can really keep up. So,
Right, for sure. And I think we have a relatively easy matchup again here in Israel
Yeah.
versus US. I think we can just let US go. We've pretty much
Yep.
discussed what makes Israel
Yep.
decent, but it's not going to compete with such a big country. Okay,
agree.
this is more interesting though. Bit of a Latin mix up here. We've got Mexico versus Chile. What are you feeling here?
Yeah, I think you kind of brought up some good points in the last round in which we advanced Chile, where Chile, the Atacama, does take up about like 40% of the country, and it's a little boring, you know.
Mhm.
And Mexico, you know, there are some parts near the U.S. border where it kind of looks similar, but like you get the desert of Baja compared to the Yucatan Peninsula and everything in between. It's like Mexico is sneaky diverse, and I kind of
Right,
like that. So I kind
right.
of want to go with Mexico here.
Oh, this is tough for me though, because like Mexico, it's hard. Like Chile is not that hard. Mexico is really hard. So it kind of depends like what I'm feeling on the day, you know, with these two countries.
Yeah.
Okay. If it's like North Mexico, I'm often like, ugh. But then when I compare that to like North Chile, I'm also kind of feeling the same way. So
Yeah.
then I compare Southern, like they yeah, I don't know. This is really like I might just have to default to your like judgment on Mexico here because I feel like this is almost like a true 50-50 for me. Maybe
Wow.
maybe the thing for Mexico is that it has more coverage. And so like,
Yep.
you know, Southern Chile just kind of like sparse in terms of coverage, also stuck in Gen 3 down there. So I may just go Mexico for that reason, but man, like it's a really tight matchup there for me.
It is tough. It is tough, I think. I think what really put Mexico over the edge for me was just, you know, how satisfying is it when you get the right state in Mexico?
Right.
I feel like what you said, like Chile, pretty easy or so to region guess in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
So like Mexico's just more fun for me in that way.
Right. Yeah. No. I'm happy with the decision overall. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Spain, Turkey. Okay, Gelotros, don't get mad at us if we don't choose Turkey here, but you know, Turkey goes in here with the bigger country advantage. So for me, I feel like this is where like I think this might be where Spain's Cinderella run ends for me because Turkey is a bit more diverse. You know, no Canaries for Turkey though, so that really has to be like, I mean, the bait in the Canaries is just so fun, and it is really diverse there. So that's points for Spain. I think Turkey, you get more like architectural differences, and their mountain ranges. Like, I don't know. Like, I never would have put Turkey this high back in the day because I always used to hate guessing it. Now that Gelotros gave me some pointers, I think I could lean it. But you know, this is one where I want to bounce it back to you, like see if you have any other ideas because I'm not really decided yet.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Gelotros, but I like Spain way more here. I don't know.
Ooh, okay,
There's something about it, man. You know, like you said, the Canaries. You know, even Ibiza and like Mallorca is crazy. You know, you can get some bait rounds there.
Galicia,
as well
not to mention.
Exactly, and it's just brutal for country streaks sometimes. Whereas Turkey, you kind of get that Turkish vibe a lot of the time. A lot of the rural rounds, it's a bit harder, but I think, you know,
not to mention,
just...
they have less rural coverage. Like most of Turkey is like on the highways or around the cities, so that also brings it down a little bit.
Exactly. And it's just, for me, Spain is such a cool country, man. I kind of want the Cinderella run to continue. So
it's going to continue. Yeah, I'll
okay, let's go.
You know what? Like, yeah, that's definitely tighter for me than it was for you because Turkey has that big country advantage, the region guessing, kind of the plonking ability there. But yeah, I mean, like Spain is kind of like more of a fun vibes country, so we let it go on. Okay, and now we're looking at Russia, Australia. Ooh, this is interesting. I think, okay, let me give my 2 cents before I
Yep.
get
Go
you to
ahead.
go for it. So, Russia and Australia, they both have their boring bits, kind of like the Russian forests and the like kind of Australian outback. Australia is this time incredibly more solved than Russia is. Russia is
Yeah.
just such a roll of the dice. Even the best players in the world in Russia are 2,000 kilometers away regularly, you know? Australia, that's not the case. Australia's like the record state streak in Australia is 150 something, and the record in Russia is like 10 or 13 or something. I can't remember exactly what it is, but like much less. So that is that's the kind of difference we're talking about here. Now, I have learned Australia and I'm learning Russia. That's the difference for me right now. So when I like think about going for Russia, I'm kind of liking the prospect more because there's more to get out of it. However,
Right.
if I could go back, I really had a great time learning Australia when I did. And the landscapes are, I would say in terms of diversity, maybe you have the more epic ones in Russia, but like they are similarly diverse. In terms of like the absolute greenness you get around Melbourne and the kind of really interesting mountains you get in Tasmania, up to the tropics and out into the desert. So Australia has that going for it, but you could say the same thing for Russia here. Um, I don't know, like just because Russia is the king of the big countries, I could almost edge Russia here, but like I don't know. I'm interested to see what you have to say now. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, this one's very hard for me as well. I feel the exact same way as you. I think and Oscar Oscar, Eddie, Sponge, they didn't pay me to say this, but I think Australia is really cool. So it's tough for me to make a decision here. And
Mhm.
man, I think I want to give the edge to Australia, not just
Mm.
because I'm on Zigzag's channel here, but like, man, it is a soft country though. I don't
Mm.
know. I'm fine with whatever you pick here, I think.
Mhm.
And whatever you want to edge out, I'm okay with it.
Man, could we really have a mutiny here? That's kind of concerning, isn't it? I don't know. I feel like just because it's the king of countries, I want to go for Russia here. Australia, like,
Okay.
dude, I don't know. I feel bad doing this because Australia really is like I could recommend learning Australia and like it is like in terms of country streaks, it is so easy that like
Mm,
I feel like Russia could like obviously Russia's relatively easy on country streaks as well, but you do get more bait there. Eucalyptus trees pretty much make Australia pretty easy to
right.
get based compared to other countries. So yeah, I'm gonna go for Russia here. Australia, I would highly recommend learning it if you haven't, because it's the easiest of the big countries to learn and it is beautiful and diverse. We're going for Russia. We'll see what happens in the next round, but let's move on to
All right.
Brazil versus Italy. Ooh, what are you feeling
Oh
here?
man. Oh man. Are we gonna give it to the big country again, Oscar? I don't
I want to
know.
hear your thoughts. I want to hear your thoughts. I have my thoughts,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I brought it up the past 2 rounds, but I think Italy is just the sickest country, man. That Italy and Spain just so cool,
Mm,
honestly.
mm, mm.
And like Brazil, to me, sometimes I mentioned it's great to get a nice plonk in there, nice region guess, but it does get a little bit mundane for me at sometimes when you just know it's Brazil, red soil. You're just like, we're just going Brazil. We can just click the middle. It's fine, country streak
Right.
wise. You know, I don't know, man. I kind of want to get the upset going here, and
Ooh.
I kind of want to go Italy. Curious to
Okay.
hear your thoughts.
I'm
Yeah.
feeling a bit the different way this time. I
Okay.
think I
Okay.
think Brazil, like Italy, we've talked about Italy's virtues so far. It
Yep.
is so diverse, and I've emphasized it every time we talked about it, but I really do love the architectural differences and stuff like that.
Yep.
For me, Brazil, big country advantage is just coming in too hard at this stage for me. Because
That's fair.
you go Amazon to RGDS, yes, they can look similar. The subtle differences, as I said, like kind of the similarity of the whole country is what makes it such an epic country to learn. You have all
Right.
these little metas on different parts. I could say this. There are many aspects that make Italy a better country. And I think the reason I go Brazil here is because of the size. I think if there were small countries with it, like if Brazil was Italy size, then it would be easy Italy. But
Right.
just the diversity and like you've seen, I've kind of lent in these tough 50-50s. I kind of lent big countries. I
Yep.
go
Yep.
Brazil here. So what do you have to say in response to that?
Well, I think I'm okay with the decision.
Hmm.
I'm a little bit disappointed that Italy is not moving on, but I have to respect the decision, and I'll go with Brazil as well.
Okay. We could like. There's an alternate universe where Italy goes forward here, and we see some really interesting matchups later on with it. But
Yeah.
I have to say, guys, this is a tight decision. I do like definitely see where Darren's coming from. But we'll move on to USA and Mex. So, North American Derby here, and in my mind, the decision isn't that hard. But firstly, I want to hear what you're thinking.
Okay. I would probably agree. I think, not biased, I would probably go the United States. But because once again, like you brought up before, Alaska and Hawaii really add a lot to the US. I know there's not that much coverage on both of those two states, but like, the diversity in landscapes, I think it might be the country with the most diverse biomes. Just because it covers pretty much everything in the world. So, I mean, I probably got to go US here. What about you, Oscar?
Yeah, so one advantage I'll give to Mexico over the US is that I think US you have to really learn a lot of signage, a lot of plates in a way that I don't really enjoy
Yeah,
that much.
that's
So
true.
that's one downgrade. Basically on most other respects, I would say USA's winning here. You got the Canada 50-50s to make it more interesting country streaking
Yeah.
country. And then you just have all the landscapes. And the final nail in the coffin for me is Alaska and Hawaii again. Like if it wasn't already like a pretty like big win for the US, that has to like bring it over the edge in my opinion. So
Yeah.
yeah, USA's gone forward here. All the way, USA baby. And let's move forward to Spain versus Russia. Goodness me, this is a strange yet compelling matchup. Okay, so I might go for first here.
Yep.
Look, so Spain, yeah, Spain is just that country, like we've been saying, like with being so small, but having such a diverse landscape, the dry, the volcanic, the kind of tropical down there, and as well as the ultra green, like the different trees around the spot. It is a very fun country to get. Now, yeah, my big country bias has been showing here, and I think um, this is where I probably would lean Russia, just because of the vastness of it and the importance of it in the game. Now that being said, the average Spain round is more fun than the average Russia round. So I will bounce it back to you on that note. Like my heart probably lies with Russia here just because of the size and the importance. But like that being said, I can see the other arguments. So what are you thinking?
Yeah. I mean, it was a nice run, Spain, but I think it's gonna have to end here. I
Hmm.
think, I mean, Russia, big country bonus, like all those things that we've mentioned in previous rounds. I think that really holds true here, and I think we just got to pick Russia off of principle here.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, uh, yeah, I would take Russia here as well.
Yep. Okay.
Uh,
That is what is going to be. Russia moves forward here, and let us see who is going to face Russia in the finals. This is going to be an epic final, I can already tell you. And we have the two best, in my opinion, semi-finalists to bring it to Russia. It's going to be Brazil versus USA. Wow, what a matchup. What are you thinking here?
oh man, you know what? I'll let you go first because I might be a little biased. No,
Yeah.
I don't feel biased.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, go first.
Okay. So, hmm. So in the last round I mentioned about plates and signage be making USA less fun. I definitely stand by that. I like especially when it comes to Brazil, which suffers from neither thing honestly. So that is one big way in which Brazil takes an early lead. USA on the other hand has a more interesting landscape. You've got like the dryness, which just doesn't really happen in that much of Brazil, and even still, when you get Brazilian desert, it is just like so distinctive with those bushes everywhere. Whereas American desert can look so different from north to south, and yeah, I mean that's definitely going in the USA's favor there. Not to mention, as I mentioned in the last round, Hawaii, Alaska, Maine, so different to anything that you get
Yeah.
in Brazil. So that's where it sits on my first judgment. Now, Brazil, one thing I love about it is that like it is so difficult. Whereas like USA, you load in and you know what part of the country you're in, generally speaking. Sure, you get those like East Coast, West Coast toss ups. With enough experience, those become a lot easier. Whereas Brazil, you load in and you're like, where the heck am I? In a way that like is very compelling. So, um, I don't know. I think I slightly lean US here, just because of the diversity of landscape. It is more fun for guessing. But Brazil, like maybe being like in a way better for gameplay or better for the longevity of like pro games. Nevertheless, if we think about rainbow tournaments, like the guesses on US are often quite poor. So, like USA also does provide such a challenge as well. So I think I'm slightly leaning US. What are you feeling here?
Yeah, I think to that point though, a lot of people that are in the rainbow tournaments haven't really mastered US in the
Mm.
same way that Brazil can be mastered.
Mm-hmm.
There are certainly people that have mastered USA out there, but they're not really playing in the tournament. So
Right,
I
true.
don't know. Yeah, I mean, man, I slightly lean US here as well, but it's really tough for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think the case can certainly be made for Brazil, and like you said, that factor of hey, like we load into a screen. Oh, I kind of know we're in California, but in Brazil, it's like I really got to think about
Yeah,
where we are, which state.
yeah.
So man,
No,
it's really
yeah.
tough for
It is
me,
tough.
and
It is tough.
I'm gonna have to default to you here. Whichever
Yeah.
one you want to move forward, I think is okay with me.
Yeah. So, in terms of a country that I would love to be good at, it's got to be Brazil. In terms of a country that I think deserves to like face Russia here, I think it's USA. More diverse landscape and just like the kind of like it's got the X factor, you know. It's like such an interesting big country, and it has the added overseas territories as well. Like I think it's got to be US.
Yeah,
But
true.
so tight in my opinion. And now we have what looks like a like the
Oh
potential
boy.
for like a international conflict, but it's actually just the final of the US of the GeoGuessr country bracket, Russia versus USA. So what are we thinking here?
It's just history repeating itself in even in GeoGuessr, man. It's
Very
happening
true.
again. USA versus Russia.
Yep.
Um, oh man. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this one first. Just because I don't have my thoughts fully formulated yet,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
I kind of know which way I'm leaning, but
Hmm.
I want to hear your thoughts before I make a
Hmm.
decision.
So pros and cons. Like this is kind of a similar situation to the US versus Brazil in my opinion, because Russia versus Brazil, like Russia also has that kind of like factor of not being solved. And
Yeah.
the kind of forest rounds where, if you have a forest round in US, like Washington forest looks nothing like Alabama forest. So, like that like whereas a Russian forest, man oh man. Like sure, like the spruce larch kind of like pine differences are there, but like really, you can be as far out as Krasnoyarsk and get like a very similar looking
Yeah.
forest to what you can find out right next to Estonia. So, like definitely less solved. Less diverse, it must be said. Like you do get a bit of desert, and you do get like a bit of like kind of not quite rainforest, but kind of thick forested, kind of a bit more like subtropical kind of stuff. I don't know. Like obviously US edges it in terms of like I do think in terms of like landscape differences, US is winning there. So this yeah, I think it's a very similar matchup to Brazil. So I'll bounce it back to you. We can continue like working through this. What are you thinking now?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you said, I think the forest does cover a significant portion of Russia, right? Or like,
Mhm,
you're saying similar looking regions from like Estonia all the way to Kraz. So like
mhm, mhm,
it's it to me that's a little bit boring
mhm.
for because like, I don't know if that's necessarily learnable. I'm sure it is in some ways, but like, I've definitely seen, Russia pros make really poor guesses where it's like you said, Kraz, and it's just like near the Estonia border, near St. Petersburg. Like
Right,
it
right.
happens, right?
Yeah.
So, oh man, I think the US is definitely more learnable. But I'd say the US, for me, as much as I complain about it, it's more fun for me to guess in
Mhm,
the US than it
mhm,
is for Russia. And I
mhm,
don't know if that's just because I'm a US citizen or not,
mhm,
but I don't know. I lean US here, I
mhm,
think.
mhm. Yeah. Okay. Okay. leading up to the final decision here. Look, I do think Russia is brought... Like, what brings down US is what I said again. License plates. Like, license plates are fun to learn, but ultimately a little, like, cheesy or something. I don't know, like, they're just like, okay, someone knows it, someone doesn't. Like, it's much different to landscape kind of, like, vibes kind of stuff. Russia is, like, pure vibes, but the vibes are often just in a forest. So, like, yeah. Like, I think we might give it to US here as well. More interesting landscape. Like, I think that aspect might just bring it over the line there, because Russia, I'm just thinking about like a middle interior Russia round. Most rounds aren't in like the Caucasus or something interesting. Most rounds are just kind of in the middle, and you know, getting the road is like an insane feeling. But let's be honest, most times most players won't. I would say the definitive GeoGuessr country, as much as I hate to say it, is the US. I would say so.
Damn.
Shall we crown it? Shall we crown it?
Sure. I'm totally fine with that.
USA wins, guys. What do you guys think of this in the comments? You gotta let us know. What part of our analysis, what country got snubbed, do you reckon? What country should have been making it to the semifinals or finals or winning the whole thing? But there you go. Like, that was a really interesting one. I'm so like interested about like some of these countries that I thought would make it further, like Canada maybe. I thought South Africa might make it further. It didn't, and like ultimately I'm pretty happy with like how it turned out, in my opinion. So yeah. Interesting one.
Yeah, I think I feel the same way. I don't want anybody in the comments being like, "Oh, he's American. Of course he's gonna pick the U.S." Like, I mean, just fun-wise, guys. Listen, I know everybody complains about the U.S. and like Zigzag said, the plates, man, just kind of ruins the experience sometimes. But you know, at the end of the day, it's a diverse country. It's definitely a fun country to learn, as much as people hate to admit it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm curious to hear what people in the comments will say for this one.
Well, there we go. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Go subscribe to Daiiono in the description, and give the video a like and subscribe to my channel as well. Guys, till next time, goodbye.
Thanks, guys.